hit like and subscribe. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel.
Peace, family. This is your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we hold Night School where we break down the most controversial subjects, the most engaged debates, the most interesting topics going on in the world today. And tonight is absolutely no different. I'm so excited to see my family up in the building. It's been quite a week. It's been so much interesting stuff happen. I know you New York Knickerbocker fans are happy because your team has yet to be eliminated. Y'all staved off elimination by beating the Indiana Pacers tonight. Really handled them. There are a couple runs. Everybody makes a run, but overall, the Knicks were in control from start to finish. And if y'all shoot this well, and the Pacers are, can't get their offense flowing, you may end up having a competitive game 6. You're still gonna lose the series. I just don't see the Pacers losing this series after being up 3-1. Nobody loses after being up 3-1 for the most part. And I think y'all are too evenly matched for y'all to run off 3 straight. But especially you have to win in Indiana. But that said, it's all good. No care. Nobody choked. The Pacers didn't choke. They lost. The Knicks had a must-win game at home. That's not choking. They just didn't win the game. They got outplayed though. Wizards blew a 3-1 lead. Warriors, blew a 3-1 lead in 2016. Yeah, I didn't mean no one literally. I'm sorry. Yes, literally people have blown 3-1 leads. Doc Rivers has been on 3 teams. Has coached 3 teams that have blown 3-1 leads. The Eastern Finals has never happened, but that's just it. Ultimately, it could happen. I didn't mean to be literal. If you're absolutely right, Noob. I'm just saying it's unlikely. It's unlikely. That's all. Everybody drop in, just like Ifeolu did, drop in where you're from, drop in your city, your state, or your country. Let me know where you're writing in from. It's so dope. It's absolutely so dope to see people from all over the world, literally all over the world in here talking to us about what's going on in the world. I'm excited. I'm proud. I'm happy to be talking to y'all. A lot of big stories tonight. We're going to talk more about the Diddy trial. We're going to talk about Donald Trump and Elon Musk. We're going to talk about lots of stuff. Didn't I just lose $1,000 to Joe? No, we bet on the series. We bet on the series. We didn't bet on game 5. We bet on game 5. I wouldn't. Yeah, we bet on the series. Georgia is in the building. Greensboro's in the building. Brooklyn is in the building. Westchester's in the building. What else we got here? We got the world's worst city for sports, Dallas, in the building. All of these places are up and about and around. We got Michigan, the whole state, I guess, 23 that one girl is from. That's cool. That's cool. We got people from the UK. Y'all are very non-specific. Y'all say we ain't getting doxxed. We ain't getting targeted. We ain't getting nothing cyber happening to us because y'all mofos like give me like one slice of the information I asked for. Flagstaff, Arizona. Pink highlighter said boring, Iowa. Mark Jones said Trinidad. Green Table said falling asleep with a phone in your hand is crazy. Love you, Mark. But we're gonna talk about that if y'all want to. But if you got questions for me, drop them in. Obviously, priority is gonna be given to super chats and super stickers and such. But drop your questions in. We're gonna get to some of them hopefully. In the meantime, shout out to Dallas' finest Jazz LP, who just came in the building or was already here and I ain't peep it. Shout out to Reign Supreme from Inglewood. Inglewood always up to no good. M.A. Noob, yo, to the noobs in from DC. Let's get to the stories. I appreciate y'all once again. Drop your comments and also hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're gonna get to the Tory Lanez questions since a couple of y'all have asked about that. I'm here for that as well. I ain't got no problem talking about it. Pink Highlighter, thank you so much for donating. Pink Highlighter just gifted a membership. Hopefully one of y'all has all. Let me see. No, one of y'all has already grabbed that membership. It's a free membership gifted by Pink Highlighter. Thank you for that. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. Hopefully some folk will match that. Can we get 4 people to match that by gifting memberships? It doesn't have to be 1. You can give 5, you can give 10, you can give 50 of them. Some people come in here and give 50 memberships. But whatever you do, we're grateful for it. So please come on in and do just that. In the meantime, we're going to start in Gaza. It's important that we start in Gaza for a variety of reasons. This is day 601 of the genocide in Gaza. It's unthinkable. It's disturbing, and we're going to cover it. Anyway, let's just get to it. Israel just forced the last working hospital in northern Gaza to shut down, while kids and families are starving with no food, no medicine, no place to go. Al-Houda Hospital, the only medical lifeline really that's left in northern Gaza, was ordered to close earlier today on Thursday after heavy bombing and forced evacuations rocked the area. The Gaza Health Ministry says that Israel's attacks are crimes. Targeting hospitals and the people trapped inside are absolutely crimes. That shouldn't be a controversial statement. Right now, nearly 100 people, 13 of them patients, are still inside Al-Houda with no safe way out. The World Health Organization says the roads are destroyed and the equipment cannot be moved. People stuck in a hospital, people unable to escape, people even unable to use the equipment in different ways because it can't be moved either. That hospital was it. Literally, that was it. It was the last one. Now it is gone. While that's happening, folks on the ground can't even eat. They can't even get a slice of bread. Residents say they haven't seen food or flour in 5 days. And then you have these aid boxes. When they show up, they're literally covered in blood. One man said he walked over 6 miles just to carry a single box home for his kids. And he couldn't even lift it because he's so weak from hunger that he didn't have the strength to carry the box. Aid drop sites have turned into war zones. People trying to leave are getting trapped between Israeli tanks, snipers, and gunfire. Even the Red Cross is being begged to help people escape. Meanwhile, hundreds of trucks full of food and filled with medical supplies are sitting at the border, but Israel is not letting the United Nations pick them up. Now, critics say this is control. That's all it's about. Using food as a weapon as people die. I am critics. That is what's happening. Food is being used as a weapon, which is a violation of international law. It's a war crime, among other things. Anyway, the U.S. says that Israel agreed to a temporary ceasefire. We know that a U.S. statement isn't worth much. We know U.S. treaties aren't worth much. Hamas has said that the plan, this ostensible ceasefire, still allows famine, still allows killing. So while there are negotiations on the ground happening, those negotiations are doing little, if anything, to stop the genocide at its worst. At its worst. There was a feeling at one point that there'd be a ceasefire and everything would get back to normal, whatever that was. Whatever normalcy we had in Gaza prior to October 7th, 2023, which, to be clear, was anything but normal. It was a siege. It was a military occupation. It was all the things that we know are awful. But any hope of getting back to even that moment has been dashed. This is disturbing. This is disgusting. And it's only getting worse. Israel, just to recap, shut down a hospital. They forced a hospital to shut down. People are dying. People are hungry. People don't have access to medicines and life-saving medical equipment, much less treatment. The roads are destroyed and people have food being blocked. How do you not see this as a war crime? How do you not see this as one of the most morally atrocious acts in modern history? and yet we continue to do nothing. The United States continues to support, to aid, and to abet. At some point, we as citizens have to stand up and speak out. We have to force Congress to its knees, politically speaking. We have to force the president to be accountable, not because he's going to get a conscience. He ain't never going to have a conscience, but because we can at some point push them to be and act different. With our leverage, with interest convergence, we got to do something. But it's important for us right now to continue to amplify and elevate the stories of Gaza, because there are a lot of people who don't think this is happening anymore. That ceasefire that happened in January, right before Trump was inaugurated, people thought was kind of it, and then we could move on to other stories, but we cannot, because that ceasefire was never any good in real life in terms of Israel holding up its end of the bargain. But moving into the next phases of it, we've seen a complete collapse of diplomatic relations. We've seen a complete collapse of any real diplomatic commitment from the West. And so here we are. And instead of talking about that, instead of talking about what's happening in Gaza, instead of talking about the violation of international law, instead of talking about the ICC, the International Criminal Court, and the urgency of holding people accountable through the ICC and the ICJ, the International Court of Justice. Instead, we're talking about the wrong things. Anyway, we'll talk about it more later. Let's move on to the other story here. This is a dangerous yet compelling and interesting story. Donald Trump says Elon Musk is leaving the government on Friday, but also he says that Elon's not really leaving. In Trump's words, he will always be with us, helping all the way. Is that a threat or a promise or reassurance? I don't know what that's supposed to be. Anyway, Musk was brought in to lead Trump's so-called Department of Government Efficiency, also known as DOGE or DOGE. And in just a few months, his team slashed tens of thousands of federal jobs. They shut down USAID, and they killed off medical research grants from the National Institutes of Health. Musk promised to cut $2 trillion in waste. So far, the department is claiming a little less than that. They're claiming $175 billion. By the way, that's a lot less. And even that number is frankly shaky. A lot of economists are saying it's fuzzy math, shaky math, funny math, false math, whatever you want, Trump math, whatever you want to call it. Ain't no real money recovered like that. And even though federal law limits Musk to 130 days as a, quote, special government employee, that means he wasn't elected. That means this didn't pass constitutional or congressional muster, and so he's just kind of slipping in and running a shadow department in the government. But anyway, Trump jumped on Truth Social to say, it don't matter. Even though he's off the books now, after the 130 days expires, Musk is still going to be involved, just off the books. He's been less visible lately after clashing with top officials, including a really wild moment when Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent reportedly shouted "F you" at Elon Musk inside the West Wing. Musk also broke with Trump this week. It wasn't just the Trump staffers, it was Trump himself, calling out the president's massive spending bill for blowing up the budget deficit. Still, you had people like Brian Kilmeade, if y'all know Brian, he's on Fox News, from Fox and Friends for a million years, say, don't be fooled. Musk is stepping out, but not stepping away. Now, they're going to hold a joint press conference, maybe the last public moment of their bromance for a while, Elon Musk and Donald Trump I'm talking about, Friday at 1:30 in the Oval Office. They're going to break all this down. They're going to smile and make good and look like they're on the same page. They're all in the same gang, as they used to say. They're going to make it nice for the cameras, but the truth is Elon Musk and Donald Trump have fallen out of favor with one another to a large extent. I mean, there are legitimate political reasons why and ideological reasons, which, you know, have to do with spending, which have to do with Elon Musk's efforts to trim the government, make the government more efficient, i.e. cut out the social safety net, cut out any support for the vulnerable, destroy any valuable social, economic, educational, cultural programs, all that. There's that, right? That mission is going to make you bump heads with people who say, I want this versus that. Some of it is ego. Elon Musk has been promoted in the public imagination as the kind of co-president, that this is a sort of shadow government. And while Donald Trump loves to buck the system, he also loves to be the biggest person in the room, the biggest ego, the biggest presence, the biggest voice. And when Elon, who has more money than him and more sort of force than he does in the non-political sphere, when he's popping up, Trump's ego doesn't respond too well to that. That's another piece of this, just to be honest and clear. So you got the ego piece, you got the legitimate concerns, you got you have the legal part, which I think is maybe the least important to them, but he literally can't stay in government for more than 130 days as an employee. All that is part of what we need to talk and think about. I think for me, one thing we have to be cognizant of in 2025 is that while governments are important, non-governmental organizations, non-governmental actors, non-elected officials are often dictating how countries go. The nation state isn't the most dominant power. The formal government of a nation state is not the most dominant power. Think about how much Elon Musk or maybe Philip, what's his name from Nike, or we can name a bunch of people, Phil Knight, or yeah, how much they shape not just foreign policy but domestic policy throughout maybe China or maybe Asia, maybe Latin America, maybe the continent of Africa. The point is, we're entering a moment where it's not enough to just focus on elections. It's not to say, oh, we're a democracy or they're not a democracy. It's a question about how power is maintained, how power is obtained, how power is imposed. And in 21st century America, it's not just from elections. The elections don't mean anything. And there are people who laugh at who everyday people think are in charge or is in charge of government. In other words, when you look at the governmental structure, you got the president, you got the vice president, right? There are dozens of corporate CEOs who are more influential in U.S. policy than the vice president, and of any vice president. I'm not just talking about JD Vance, excuse me. I'm not just talking about Kamala Harris. I'm not talking about any singular vice president. I'm saying in general, there's more to this game than what we know, or than what we think we know, and we have to be honest about that. Anyway, Trump, but let's say Donald Trump is telling the truth for once. Let's say Donald Trump is right. Let's say that Elon Musk is still going to be influencing U.S. policy, just quote off the books. That is scarier, because he doesn't even have the pretext of working in a governmental office as a governmental employee. He's just operating a shadow government. That scares the hell out of me. I'm sorry, y'all. It just does. And it should scare the hell out of you. So, again, Congress needs to be alerted. The people are not standing for this anymore. The people want more. It's not even people who elected Donald Trump and believe in Donald Trump and all that MAGA bullshit. You elected a president. You elected members of Congress. What you didn't elect was Elon Musk. So he should not be operating a shadow government. He should not be doing whatever he wants in the corner. And I think it's important that we say that. I think it's important that we acknowledge that. I think it's important that we say that repeatedly, because this is becoming too normal. This is becoming too taken as a fact that Elon Musk and others, he ain't the only corporate CEO. He ain't the only powerful oligarch who's doing this, but he's the biggest one, and we got to make sure that that's not the case. Anyway, enough about Elon Musk. Let's talk about something y'all really want to talk about in pop culture slash the legal scene, I guess you could call it. And that is Diddy. I know y'all want to talk about this Diddy shit, man. I know y'all want to talk about this Diddy shit. And I'll be honest with you, it's difficult at times to talk about it because it's such a reminder of how divided we are as a people, as a nation. It's a reminder of how perverse some of our sensibilities are around these matters. It's stressful, honestly, to hear and to think and to talk about the Diddy trial. But we got to do that work. We got to do that work. So we will. Anyway, y'all, let's get to it. Let's get to it. Sorry, my computer's locking up a little bit. What is going on, y'all? Give me 5 seconds. There we go. Let's get to it, y'all. Let's talk about this Diddy stuff. Diddy's former assistant just dropped a bombshell in court, saying the music mogul sexually assaulted her at his own birthday party at the Plaza Hotel in New York City. The witness, using the name Mia, told the jury it started back in 2009 when she was brand new on Diddy's team. She says during the 40th birthday bash inside a penthouse packed with celebs, Diddy pulled her aside to talk in the kitchen. Once they were alone, she says that he poured them both vodka shots. But she said something was off. After drinking, her vision got blurry and she said she couldn't focus. Then, she says, Diddy put his hand up her dress and kissed her. She says she didn't want it and could not speak. Like her body was in shock, she said. And the next thing she knew, it was the next morning and she woke up alone in a different room. I just want to point out that this sounds eerily similar to what many people said with Bill Cosby. But it did not stop there. Mia told the court Diddy sexually assaulted her again at his home in LA, climbing on top of her while she was asleep. She says she felt him undo his pants and rape her. She didn't move. She couldn't. Another time, she says he forced her to perform oral sex while she was cleaning his closet. She says she froze, felt like trash, and couldn't even process what was happening. She says he assaulted her again, this time on a private jet. More victims are expected to testify. So first, let me say, this is deeply traumatizing to so many people. This is devastating news. This is awful, this story, and my heart goes out to this witness for all that she endured. I'm seeing people in the comments. I'm not going to post the comments because I don't want to normalize this kind of behavior, but people doubting her story. I don't believe that every single person who's ever alleged a crime is telling the truth. But I believe that we should believe victims. Believing victims doesn't mean that nobody ever lies. It means that we, as a society, as a legal system, as a community, have to begin with a presumption that people who claim that they were harmed, rather than beginning from a presumption that they are lying. In other words, there's a long history. This is not in the abstract. In the abstract, two people tell a story. One person says this, one person says that. We adjudicate it, we figure out what happens. But in real life, the victims of sexual assault, the victims of sexual violence are not heard. They're not believed. They're not credited or seen as credible. And so we're responding to that by saying, hey, believe women, believe all victims, not just women, believe all victims. But believe women was another piece of it, because people didn't believe women in particular. That's where the what were you wearing, why were you out there, with questions came in. Whereas for the men who were sexually assaulted, there's such a culture of shame and violence and silence, around that men didn't even have a chance to not be heard or to be not believed, because they were too afraid to say anything in the first place. It's not that men and boys are not sexually assaulted and sexually abused. They are at a very high rate. There's just not space to talk about it. So we're jacked up on all sides. But, of course, Diddy deserves the right to a fair trial. He deserves the legal presumption of innocence. And we have to hold those two things in tension with one another all the time. It's not just with sexual assault cases, not just with pop culture. It's with everything. George Zimmerman deserved the presumption of innocence. Derek Chauvin deserved the presumption of innocence. The Boston Marathon bomber deserved the presumption of innocence legally. Dylan Roof deserved the presumption of innocence legally. It should not be tried and convicted in a court of public opinion. That's not fair. That does not mean, however, that the public does not have a right to have opinions and thoughts, because we do. I had thoughts about George Zimmerman. I had thoughts about Derek Chauvin. based on the facts that we saw, based on the evidence that we saw. However, those facts and that evidence should not be used in a way that denies him due process or fair trials. Everybody deserves a fair trial. Like, let me say that. But when I hear, I'm saying all that to say, when I hear this woman, this former assistant, tell her story, I don't begin from a premise of saying, did she lie? Or I don't begin from a premise saying she is lying. I don't begin from a premise of saying this didn't happen to her. I begin from a premise of saying she has just disclosed with great difficulty some of the most awful things that a human being could experience. We should take that seriously. We should listen. We should investigate. We should find out what happened. And we should not allow our personal feelings or our analytical feelings or analytical response to what's happened in this Diddy trial and this Diddy controversy for the last year and a half. We should not allow our feelings about that to force us beyond or to enable us to circumvent the legal process. Diddy deserves a fair trial. But we can also say Diddy's a piece of shit. We can also say Diddy is wrong. Just like with Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby was released. He should have been released. Double jeopardy. He should not. He was mistreated by the Pennsylvania prosecutor. Doesn't mean he's morally innocent. Doesn't mean he's factually innocent. Doesn't mean that he isn't a piece of shit. Bill Cosby is a piece of shit. So all that to say, this newest Diddy revelation from his ex-assistant is damning. At the same time, we have to ask ourselves, even if it's all true, and I'm assuming that it is for the sake of this exchange. I believe her anyway, but even if it's all true, does this advance the prosecution's argument, the prosecution's legal argument? I know that this will make the jury hate Diddy. They should hate him for this. I know it will make him seem like a monster. He is a monster. The question is, does this advance the case or the prosecution's case around those three charges? I don't know the answer to that. That's not me being coy or I'm saying I need to look at the transcripts. I need to hear more to get into the specifics of it. But I do think we have to separate the awful things that Diddy's accused of doing from the awful things he's charged with doing. And sometimes they overlap. Sometimes the prosecution, is setting the table for a particular type of legal strategy that's unfolding. And sometimes it feels like, oh, y'all just throwing a bunch of shit against the wall so that people will convict Diddy for the person he is, not for the actions that he committed. This is the messiness of the trial. But, this is the messiness of the trial. That's all I can say. Did they pick the right charges? Zakia asks. I don't know. I believe so. It seems like the racketeering is starting to unfold based on how we understand racketeering. The other charges, I mean, here's the thing. It's hard because Diddy did so many awful things, but a lot of things that are coming up in testimony that are awful, and I believe he did, I'm not sure if they're connected to the criminal charges. So we have to figure all of it out. And it's not my job to figure it out. It's a jury, it's a judge and jury's job and the attorney. So we'll see. But I don't have a good answer for you right now. I'm just going to continue to pay attention. All right. All right, family. That's it for tonight. I may come back on a little bit and just talk a little bit of JBP, talk a little bit of take some live Joe Budden podcast comments and questions, including some of the stuff y'all asked. But in the meantime, I'm going to thank you for watching. I'm going to ask you to hit the like button. I'm going to ask you to hit the subscribe button. I'm going to ask you to hit the join button. The like button is important, family. The like button lets some YouTube algorithms know that corporate media is not the only game in town. Please hit the like button right now. Also, subscribe. We're very close to 200,000 subscribers. I would love to hit that number by tomorrow. So please hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a thing. And of course, hit the join button to become a monthly paid subscriber to the channel. It gives us the financial stability that we need to do the work that we do. And finally, if you don't want to make a monthly commitment, make a commitment tonight. Just go to Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle and drop something in. It can be $1. I promise you. No amount is too small. No amount is too big. Please consider dropping $1 or $2 or $3 into one of these platforms so that we can continue to hire staff, continue to use our cutting edge technology to edit and to organize content, continue to rent office space or put money down to rent studio space. We do all of it with your help. We do all of it with your support. So please consider Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. $1 is not too little. $1 million is not too much. Anything in between is just fine. But if you listen to me, I'm asking everybody watching the show right now, anybody who can hear my voice, to consider, as we go into the last day or two of the month of broadcasting this month, I want you to consider dropping $5. If everybody watching right now were to drop $5 on Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, PayPal, we would be able to meet our financial goals, not just for this month, but for next month. If everybody watching were to drop $5,000 right now, excuse me, $5 right now. If you want to give $5,000, that'd be great. If one person out there could give $1,000 tonight, that would be amazing. But I'd be grateful if everybody just gave $5. That would make things amazing. I also want to shout out while we're here, M.A. Noop, who gifted 5 MLH memberships. Again, I asked if we could get people to match, and he stepped up. Our brother stepped up. I'm grateful that he stepped up, man. But that's what Noops do, man. He's a good brother. I appreciate you for donating those 5 channel memberships. Let's talk, man. I'll see y'all. We have one more question coming in. From D'Angelo Trowick. I want to make sure that I answer that question, since he did what I asked, which was to make it a super chat or a super sticker or a super thanks. He made it a super chat. Would justice be prison for Diddy or mental treatment? How many people are like this in our community? And it's a great question. You know, my particular vision and understanding of prison abolition is one where I don't think the prison should be our primary mechanism for dealing with these types of harms. I also know that Diddy is a danger to society. And so he might be in that small group of people that needs forced confinement. The question, of course, for me isn't that. The question is, what could that look like outside the context of the prison industrial complex? How could Diddy be kept from harming people while getting the treatment that he obviously needs in order to become whole and healthy again, if possible? That's what we have to think about. So my short answer is no, I don't think justice is Diddy in prison, because the people who he's harmed, and allegedly he's harmed a lot of people in a lot of profound ways, they're not whole again. If I murder 10 people and then I go to prison for the rest of my life and I get the electric chair, that's not justice. Justice is you getting your loved one back, but that's impossible. So we're always trying to get as close to a just outcome as possible, given the tools that we have. And I'm saying let's consider prison as an increasingly less effective tool for getting at justice. That's all. And to answer your question about how many of these people in our community exist, I don't know, but a lot more than we'd like to admit. A lot more than we'd like to admit. Anyway, family, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the join button, and of course, again, consider dropping something on these platforms. $5 from everybody watching would be amazing. I promise you, we're spending the money in responsible ways, but we could use your support. So please do what you can. Otherwise, family, I'll see you soon. Peace.